Today on One-on-One Sports,
we discuss the MLB Wildcard Race.
Take a look back at some of college football's greatest matchups that we want to see again.
And what the NHL rules we think need to be changed.
All that and so much more.
And it all starts right now. Hello and welcome to a brand new year of One-on-One Sports. I'm Ellie Whittington.
And I'm Thomas Hale. We're excited to be kicking off the new year with you.
But before we do that, Thomas and I step up to the plate for the quick hitters. Kobe Bryant, 5-time NBA champ and 18-time All-Star, will be honored by his beloved LA Lakers with the retirement of both his numbers, number 8 and number 24. There's no doubt that Kobe is one of the best to ever play, but it is his legacy so great that he deserves to be the first player to ever have 2 numbers retired.
Oh man, I say absolutely. This guy's the Black Mamba. He's got 10 years with each number, so
Right.
20 years total in the NBA. He's got over 16,000 points with each number, which is ridiculous.
I want to go back to something that you said about 10 years with each number. It's not only the years that surprise me, is that the number of championships, one number he has 3 championships, the other he has 2,
Exactly.
and the one he has 2, he also won MVP with that. So literally, if you look at the statistics, of both number, they line up perfectly.
Exactly, and they're pretty much better than most players that we're going to see coming out of the league anytime soon.
Right.
Multiple championships, thousands of points, and I mean, this guy's just set so many precedents for the league. He had the 81-point game. We all know that. Then once he moved to 24, 2 championships without Shaq, got the MVP.
Yeah. I think the argument here is from a lot of other people, there's never been a player that have had both numbers retired by one team.
Absolutely.
Shaq had both of his numbers retired. Magic Johnson had 2 numbers retired, but they were from different teams.
Right.
So I think that the Lakers, they don't have a choice.
Yeah, and I think that they want to show how important Kobe was to them,
Yes.
just above anyone else.
And they haven't actually announced this yet, but I guess we'll see soon.
Yeah, we're going to find out soon.
Sounds good.
On Friday, the Red Sox and Yankees were both fined by the MLB for sign stealing. This comes after initial accusations that Boston was stealing signs using an Apple Watch, which was followed by New York stealing signs with the help of their Yes Network. Ellie, what do you think of this situation?
You know, sign stealing is nothing new, definitely between these 2 teams who are obviously rivals and definitely fighting for the chase. I think that the issue with this is the technology.
Absolutely.
The whole Apple Watch, you know, you're using, that's to a whole nother level. Sign stealing is actually not illegal in Major League Baseball. There's no rule that says that you can't do that.
Electronics though. And that's the thing, is that the Apple Watch just came out. People are they like to fiddle with those new toys and they like to sneak around and see what they can do before they get caught. Luckily they got fast enough, and I'm just worried that hopefully in the future people don't see this and start to try to find new ways to see
What do you think about, the Yankees were accused of using the Yes Network, which is not an Apple Watch, this is a TV network that's for the Yankees. What do you think about that?
I think that, that's a big issue, just because that's your whole team, that's your whole organization.
Right.
And it doesn't just come down to just your baseball team, now it's your PR team, now it's your media team that's all in on collusion, maybe, on cheating, that kind of thing.
Oh, do you call it cheating? Sign stealing, like I said, is not illegal. Is that cheating?
It's cheating with electronics.
Oh, interesting. I do want to say that I think that the MLB, they reacted in a fast manner, and they reacted well, because they're giving the money that they find these teams for to Hurricane Irma relief.
Absolutely.
Which is, you know, if you're going to do this, I feel like it's more of a slap on the wrist, but they are saying, we're going to take care of this. So.
Good move by the MLB.
I agree.
Yeah.
Good job. Are you an amateur goaltender? Do you want to be an emergency goaltender in the NHL? Well, now you can. On Thursday, the 2-time Stanley Cup champion LA Kings announced that they will be holding open tryouts on September 27th as they look to find emergency goaltenders for next season. So, Thomas, what do you think about this?
Oh, I love it.
You love it?
Love it. Let me tell you about one of my favorite movies, Disney movies, called Invincible. Came out in 2006. All about Vince Papale, starring Mark Wahlberg, excuse me. Great choice for the guy. And he just comes out to tryouts. He's just a local Philly guy, and he makes the team. And I think that this is another situation where that could happen.
Okay, Thomas, I don't want to dish you, but that's
fine.
Hollywood. That's Hollywood.
It's Hollywood.
We're talking about a movie.
Let's make our dreams come true.
Let's make it happen. Okay. I agree to an extent. I love the movie choice, but I am going to say that I think we all want our lives like Hollywood sometimes, and that's not realistic.
Absolutely.
But I think that this is a great move for the LA Kings.
Yeah.
You know, there are players in the NFL that have worked to try to get to pro level. There are players in NHL in every league.
Yeah.
So why not?
And I look at it as like, you might
position.
find a diamond in the rough. You never know, just some local guy, and that boosts your brand as well. You've got local guys on your team. You're getting involved in your community and getting people who come out to the stadium and come out with the hockey team. I think
you think
it's a
our
cool
producers
thing.
will send us to try out?
Hey, I'll try out. I can't skate, but I'll go try out. Man,
Yeah.
I'll give it a shot.
Just for fun.
I'll give it my best shot. This past week, ESPN released their annual ranking of NBA players. The top 10 were fairly predictable, but the biggest shock was Knicks forward Carmelo Anthony being all the way down at number 64, a spot behind LA Lakers rookie Lonzo Ball. So, Ellie, what do you think of Melo's ranking, and where do you think he should be?
I think it's appalling.
Yeah.
I think that it was a slap in the face to him.
Absolutely.
And I think he felt that. And there were other players in the NBA who also stated this is kind of not a nice move by ESPN. My biggest issue with him being behind Lonzo Ball is that he's not even played in the NBA.
That's what I'm saying. How can you rank a guy over Carmelo Anthony, of all people, who is a seasoned veteran, and he came up in the class with D. Wade and Chris Bosh and LeBron. He's part of the banana boat. This is one of those star players, and he needs to be up in the top 30,
You're saying, I would even say top 25. I'm pushing it up. I mean, that's a big jump from 64.
Yeah.
But come on, give the guy a little bit of respect.
I don't know where they got 64 from in the first place.
Yeah.
I want to know all the players ahead of him just so I can kind of be like, no.
Right, I was looking at the list, and it seems like that, most players got their respected number. I mean, you could argue both ways, but 64 for a seasoned veteran, like you said. And the season hasn't started. So I have a question for you. What do you think that these rankings actually mean? What do rankings mean in any sport?
I mean, I think after the top 10, it gets really murky. The top 10, top 20, it gets really murky. Then it's all about just like nitpicking, who's got the better little stats here and there. But we go back to this thing is like, Lonzo Ball doesn't have any stats to compare to Carmelo Anthony.
Exactly.
So it doesn't mean anything.
You, if I was number 64 and I knew how good I was, I would use that as motivation to say, I'm going to prove you wrong. So maybe we'll see.
He's been training in that hoodie Melo, top 5 player in the NBA. I can see him coming
top
back.
5.
Oh yeah, top 5. That's my hot take. But that's all the time we have for the quick hitters.
But don't go anywhere because I will be joined at the desk by our 2 MLB experts to discuss the wildcard race coming up next. The wildcard race is in full swing as Major League Baseball turns its focus to the postseason. I'm joined at the desk by our 2 MLB experts, Matt Hosoffel and Jimmy Longo, as they are going to break down what to expect in this year's baseball wildcard race. So, guys, what are the 2 teams that are going to be in for the National League?
Well, I have Arizona and Colorado, 2 teams from the NL West. I just think that they've shown so much consistency throughout the season, and with it hitting and pitching, and they have a good combination. Obviously, they're not top of their divisions like they'd like to be. They're they're in 2nd and 3rd place respectively, but I think they're going to make it into the wildcard game.
Probably a good chance. Jimmy, who are you going with?
I'm going with the same Arizona Diamondbacks and the Colorado Rockies. I think that both of them have been on hot streaks and they have good potential to keep going into the wild card game.
You both could probably run. I think we agree on this. Who are going with the American League?
I'm going with the Yankees and the Twins. Obviously, the Yankees, it's all about Aaron Judge and Gary Sanchez this year, but their pitching hasn't been that bad, so I think they'll be able to sneak into the wild card. One thing to note is they're only 3 games behind the Red Sox for the division lead, so they could actually sneak into the, get a bye, but I think they'll end up in a wild card.
It's possible. Now, I agree with you with the Yankees. I think they're going to easily make the wild card, if not the division, but the Angels. Now, keep in mind, the Twins are playing the Yankees right now, and the Yankees have been playing pretty darn well. And that is going to definitely, I think they're going to win out against the Twins, so I think the Twins are going to bump down. And now with the Angels, they've been pretty good. They've been close with a lot of their games, allowing their difference for runs allowed and runs scored is 9. So
my problem with the Angels is just it's Mike Trout and it's who else. And obviously they have other players who are producing and who are contributing, but nobody talks about them because it's a Mike Trout show. I just feel like they have a lot of turmoil and problems, and that's why I just don't see them getting into the wild card this year.
I really do think like they're a game and a half away from outside of Minnesota, and I think that Minnesota is going to drop a couple of games, and this is perfect opportunity for the Angels to get in there.
I guess we'll see who is the teams, but if you're going with your team, who do you think is going to win the National League wildcard?
I'm going to go with Arizona. I like Colorado a lot. I feel like they're underdogs. Everyone's counted them out all year, but Arizona is my team because 2 reasons. One, I think combination of Goldschmidt and JD Martinez hitting, especially Martinez new this year from the Tigers. They're just hitting so well. They bolster that lineup really well.
But I think the Rockies, now keep in mind the Rockies have been on a hot streak. I mentioned that before. But also, they have 4 players hitting over 300, which is kind of unheard of when you think about it. 300.
Exactly, but I think the combination for Arizona of pitching and hitting is what gets them into the next division, or the next game, rather.
But keep in mind, the Rockies, they're second best in the league offensively. They're killing it.
And that's why, because Arizona's going to send out Greinke, they're going to send out Zach Greinke to the divisional or the wild card matchup, excuse me, and he's going to shut them down. He's their ace for a reason.
It's hard to shut them down, and I know.
Agreed, that you're not wrong.
Yeah, he's a great pitcher, but I don't think he could stop the Colorado Rockies.
I think time will tell. We're going to go to the American League. So you said the Yankees and the Twins. Who's going to win that matchup?
Unfortunately, I'm going to say the Twins. Obviously, I'd love to see the Yankees win, because we've championship pedigree. We haven't seen them make it that far in a while. But the Twins, I just think the Yankees are too young right now, and it's not a bad thing. They can make the playoffs. That's great for them with such a young core. They have a future.
But their young players I think, are the most experienced young players that they have. And let me tell you,
Cashman. And that's why they're going to lose.
Brian Cashman, after All-Star break, completely just wheeled and dealed. He got Sonny Gray, he got Neal, and he got Robinson, which is just insane when you think about it, pitching-wise. But then you have Aaron Judge, and then you have Gary Sanchez. These guys are hitting, I think, probably combined or close to 80 home runs this season, which is insane.
A question with the bullpen as well for the Yankees. Is it Chapman? Is it Betances? Who is it? We don't know. It's back and forth almost every day.
Hey, but, and they talked about the 3-headed dragon last year. And
okay, I've got a question. So you both picked the Yankees to play in this wild card game. Are the Yankees going to go farther than the wild card game?
Yes, absolutely. 100%.
I wouldn't be surprised. I just don't see the Twins, who have been so consistent, especially with Mauer and Sano hitting so well on the top of that lineup. I don't see them losing in the first round.
You're not throwing in the home field advantage here. If the Yankees are the top wildcard team, that home field advantage, New York,
especially
is going
Yankee
to
Stadium.
Be
You're right.
Crazy.
You're right.
Crazy.
I just think Minnesota is a good team at home and on the road. I think if they send their ace out there and they send out Martinez and Sano and they keep consistently hitting, which is not even off the charts, just consistently. That's what will get them to the next round.
Judge's Chamber, they're going to
We'll see if things do end up in the Bronx, guys. Thanks so much. That's all we have on the diamond. Next, we head over to the gridiron with Thomas for some football.
So, same time next week?
Well, of course.
All right, I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay, so who's gonna do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
Here's your check. Oh, you got it. Since I got rid of my car, I really enjoy walking.
Okay. Got it.
Getting pulled over for buzz driving could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates.
Oh, you're home early.
You live with your mom?
That'll set your game back a few years. Buzzed, busted, and broke. Because buzz driving is drunk driving. Get caught buzz driving, and you could do some hard time.
Craig, knock it off.
Sorry, Mom.
It could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. And that could set you back a few years. Buzzed, busted, and broke. Because buzz driving is drunk driving.
Welcome back to One-on-One Sports. College football has had quite the lineup of incredible matches over the years. When teams like Texas and USC face off, you're always in for a memorable game. With this in mind, guys, I'm joined by college football experts Dom Vernazza and Andrew Vandellis as they answer one question: what historic matchup do you guys wish we could see again? Dom, kick it off.
So when I looked at this question, I took into account not just the rivalry, but how good the teams were this year. Because, I mean, obviously there's some great college football rivalries where teams are having a down period. I maybe won't want to see as much. So I was looking for teams that have a rivalry, but also are relevant this year. And for me, a matchup I wanted to see so bad would be USC-Alabama.
Ooh.
I mean, I'm just talking even stylistically. You look at USC's this Hollywood, this West Coast flair, where Alabama's really been this gritty Southern running team, You could honestly argue that they're the two most successful teams on each coast. East Coast versus West Coast.
Yeah.
And then also it would be a huge grudge match.
And they both had those dynasties for so long
Exactly.
as well. USC had the
huge
dynasty
history.
before Alabama.
And then you're looking, last year they played, and it was a beatdown.
Exactly.
Alabama destroyed USC. So what's the difference between last year and the game that would happen this year? Sam Darnold only threw 8 passes last game. He came in at garbage time.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, USC started off real poorly. Since then, they've been an amazing team. I think they'd be looking for revenge.
Yeah.
I think they'd be a national contender. And I think Sam Darnold, he wants a shot at Alabama.
And you think
he wants the
offense
whole
can take
game.
down defense this year?
I think when they had that Heisman contender like Darnold, I mean, obviously, Alabama's tough to beat.
Oh, yeah.
They are a
Star-studded.
dynasty. Their defense is amazing. Jalen Hurts is good.
Mm-hmm.
So, obviously on their part, they're coming to play. But
Absolutely.
I think USC would be out for blood.
Dom, what do you got?
When I'm looking for a historic matchup, I'm looking for a story. And in college football, the first story of a historic matchup that comes to mind is Ohio State and Michigan.
Great.
And while this is kind of hard to see it happening, and I want to see it in the college football playoff, but that's hard because they're in the same division now, not even the same conference.
It is.
But they did already have the game of the century in 2006. The Ohio State win 42-39, I believe, led by Troy Smith, future Heisman winner Troy Smith. That's kind of hard to say. But but we've seen them face off in like Big Ten championship games, and obviously the rivalry goes back all the way.
And everyone's
10
always
years
excited,
yeah.
no matter where in the country they are, to see Ohio State and Michigan play.
Exactly.
Because they know how big
exactly.
that
That is
game
the marquee matchup, and what would be a better historic matchup than just the oldest rivalry imaginable.
My only thing with this matchup this year is neither team is looking that great on offense. If I'm looking for a big spectacle game in college football, I want a shootout.
Yeah.
I know some people like defense, and that's fair. But for me, an Ohio State Michigan game, I feel like it would just be lots of punts, some defense, and that can be fun. But I really, I want to see the points fly.
You like offense.
I'm an offensive man.
The story side of it, you also have two legendary college football head coaches in Urban Meyer and Jim Harbaugh.
Legendary,
That's something
wow.
I really want to see in a college football playoff setting with something on the line there, something I can really sink my teeth
I don't know if I can call
into.
Jim Harbaugh legendary quite yet. He
Those
doesn't
khakis
have
are
a
legendary, man.
When you think of go-to college football coaches, Jim Harbaugh's top 5
legendary
right now.
well, maybe right now, but when you're saying legendary, that is.
He's going to have a legacy.
He doesn't have a title
But
yet,
maybe he's
so.
building one.
Yeah. He could be
I
building
think he
one.
could be. Urban Meyer
But
has
Michigan
one,
does have more titles overall than Ohio State does, but Ohio State does have more bowl
Let me give you my
appearances.
pick real quick. I'm thinking, so I kind of went a mix of both of y'all. So my teams are not very good right now, but it is a rivalry that just goes down in history, out for blood, Texas versus A&M. And ever since they took A&M away from the Big 12, sent it to the SEC, haven't been able to play since, but everyone in Texas always was ready for that game.
You
That
always
was
got
the
to
big
make those
game.
in-state rivalries.
It is
Exactly.
really a shame when you see realignment break something like that up.
Yeah.
Like,
And
it
I'm
makes
hoping
tons of
maybe in
sense
the
if you're in the
future we
same
can see them in the
conference. Yeah.
championship.
Well, you think
Well,
about like other
maybe-
matchups like Florida
maybe
State,
Texas.
Miami
I don't know
as
about
well.
Texas and A&M.
Yeah.
And other in-state rivalries, that's just amazing right there.
Hey, well, definitely some great games that we wish we could relive. Hopefully some classics will be played this season. We got plenty of football left to go. We're almost done with the WNBA though. Ellie will be right back to go over the playoffs.
The WNBA playoffs are coming down to the wire. I'm joined by our two WNBA experts, Mason and Jenny, to break this all down. So Mason, who is a standout player in the WNBA?
Standout player in these playoffs
Yes.
certainly has been Lindsay Whalen. When she went out with an injury toward the end of the season, Minnesota had absolutely no way to figure out how to deal without her. You had Renee Montgomery, who's a very capable point guard, go in for her, but Renee is a shoot-first point guard, trying to score the ball. She wasn't able to facilitate between Maya Moore, Sylvia Fowles, Simone Augustus. Lindsay Whalen comes back, you have a fire in this team. And that's what's really been telling in these playoffs. I see no end in sight for the Minnesota Lynx.
See, to me, my question about Lindsay Whalen is, yes, she's an impact player. We know that she's great, but her biggest impact came from the fact that her absence just made the team look bad, but she didn't do anything necessarily to bring them over the top. They were going to beat the Mystics anyway. To me, the standout player is Kristi Tolliver, who single-handedly brought the Mystics with 9 threes, a WNBA record, to that semifinal against the Mystics.
But here's the problem with Tolliver. Her job in Washington is to facilitate between Elena Deladon and Emma Miesemann. And when she's hitting 9 threes, that's incredible. But she's not doing her job, and there's a reason that Washington lost that series.
She's a three-point specialist. That has nothing to do. She is not the reason Washington lost that series. They lost that series for multiple reasons. We're not going to go into that because that's not the question. However, the question is, who is the standout player in the playoffs? And if you're telling me someone who broke a WNBA record to single-handedly
I'm
bring
talking
her
about
team
the
to the
all-time playoff assist leader in the WNBA.
But that's not this playoffs. This is the standout player for this
She's averaging
playoffs.
nearly a double-double between points and assists, not to mention all the intangibles she brings to the table.
That's fine. You can't measure intangibles, though. We're talking about someone who put up double-digit points in almost all of the
and
playoff
got
games.
swept. We're
That
talking
doesn't
about a player
matter.
that is the court general, is the most important asset of that team
But
when you have all these all-stars.
Okay, guys, I'm gonna say it. We're going to agree that these are both amazing players. I guess we'll see in the end of this who ultimately is the
one's
best.
home and one's in the finals.
So, well, that's a good argument. So, okay, who are we going to go with the title? Who's going to win this WNBA title?
Minnesota. They are the best all-around team. They have the best players. They have the player of the year in Sylvia Fowles. They're not going to lose again.
Oh, come on. I mean, they're great. They're a super team. I'm not going to argue with you, but every super team has their kryptonite. And to me, the LA Sparks is Minnesota's kryptonite. They just have some of the best clutch playoff performers. And yes, you can say Minnesota has some great teams, but there's something about LA that never says
But who did they lose last year? Kristi Tolliver, who you just mentioned. Without her, they didn't get a whole heck of a lot better, yet Sylvia Fowles adapted her game. You add more players. The bench is deeper with Rebecca Brunson and Renee Montgomery coming off the bench. Come on, it's Minnesota, hands down.
Here's the thing, though. I agree with you as far as as far as Minnesota being the deepest team. Yes, it is passionate. As far as Minnesota being the deepest team that's had the biggest steps up. But to me, one of the questions is, can they beat Candace Parker, Nneka Ogwumike? I think that those two are better than anybody on Minnesota.
It looks like it's going to come down soon. So, guys, thank you so much. What an interesting ending it will be to this WNBA season. Let's head to the lounge to see how we, including me, can improve our fantasy football teams.
I'm one unlucky guy. The chance of being involved in a robbery is 1 in 757. The chances of being struck by lightning. 1 in 750,000.
Please fasten your seatbelts for unexpected turbulence.
The chances of being a victim in an airline crash? 1 in 29 million. Hey, could I get some peanuts? The chances of being involved in a car crash are far greater than lightning strikes and plane crashes. And if you are texting while driving, your risk of crash increases 23 times. Now, I may be an unlucky guy, but I don't have to be part of that statistic, and neither do you. Drive responsibly.
Son, tell him that I've begun to dream of things to come, and tell the trees not to look for me. I'm going to find some peace of mind. Wake the sun. Wake the sun, wake the sun, wake the sun.
This is your computer. Let's go on the internet.
Let's go, okay. She's gonna love me all over again. Now,
Jamaica, here you come.
here we go.
Good job.
The NFL is back, and with that, so is the great game of fantasy football. I'm joined in the lounge by our fantasy experts, Ennis Warlick, Brad Clear, and Chris Edwards, as they break down what moves to make for Week 3. So guys, let's get into it. Going into week 3, what's the biggest free agent that you think we can find on the market here?
So if you're looking for like wide receiver depth, I would go with J.J. Nelson from the Arizona Cardinals. Right now, I took a look at ESPN Fantasy, and he's only owned about 20% of leagues, and he's actually leading the Cardinals in receiving yards, 10 receptions.
Big week last week.
Exactly, huge week last week in overtime, and he has 163 yards on the season right now, 2 touchdowns. He's only second in targets to Larry Fitzgerald at 13. But he's leading right now. If you need a wide receiver to stash away or start to flex, I would go with him.
If you want to go for another wide receiver, the Jets. I know, terrible offense, one of the worst teams in the league. Jermaine Kearse, they're going to be playing catch-up a lot. He had 12 points last week. Top 10 wide receiver so far in PPR leagues. Just for the sheer amount of volume he's going to get and the touchdown possibility, because they're going to be throwing the ball a lot. And if you want to go running back, Javorius Allen from Baltimore, he's number 13 so far amongst PPR running backs for ESPN.
Now, here's the thing with Allen. You have the running back that debuted behind him last week, and you also have the guy that they brought in from Seattle last week, Alex Collins.
Yeah. And then you have Danny Woodhead, though, who's out for 8 weeks. So someone's
it's kind of a murky backfield.
Someone's got to fill that passing catch role. He had 20 carries last week, had 6 catches, so it's just a lot of quantity.
Plus, Javorius Allen is actually the leading rusher for Baltimore right now at 135 yards. And he can actually kind of do what Danny Woodhead does, which is both run the ball and working yourself in the backfield.
So, Dennis, who you got? So
I'm going to go with the guy that's actually available in 0.8% of leagues. I'm going to go with Brandon Coleman from New Orleans. The Saints' offense has kind of been a little bit disappointing, but you have to keep in mind that they've gone against pretty tough defenses in Minnesota and New England. Brandon Coleman's a big 6'6" wide receiver. Of course, Willie Snead is coming back in the week after next here, but he's a big target. He had a big week last week. He had 82 yards and a touchdown. I think he's going to be good.
Yeah, and guys, he's got Drew Brees throwing to him, so what can be wrong with that?
Absolutely.
So, we've had some injuries so far this season. What is the most detrimental so far? Ennis, kick it off.
Well, I'm going to go with Jordan Howard, and not because of the Bears' backfield situation. I think they're pretty set with Tariq Cohen in the backfield there. He had an impressive week 1, solid week 2, but just for where Jordan Howard got drafted for a lot of people, he was getting drafted in the second round in most leagues. Pretty disappointing for him to be in a sling after this week. Not really sure how he's going to battle with that injury, but I think it's pretty disappointing.
If we want to go off of injuries at a high draft pick, you can't go higher than David Johnson. This guy was probably, at worst, the number 2 pick in the league you were playing in. He's out for
It's my number 1 pick, man. Hurt me.
Losing out on the number 1 pick. That's irreplaceable. That could be destroying plenty of seasons, and you may not even get him back to the playoffs.
Absolutely. Chris, who you got? Let's make it quick.
Going down a little bit lower, Greg Olsen for Carolina.
Absolutely.
Probably one of the top tight ends in the league right now. 3 1,000-yard seasons, like 3 straight seasons. Now he's out. That's probably Cam's favorite target. You got to go to the waiver wire. Maybe pick up Jared Cook from Oakland, but that's kind of bad.
Real quick, last question. Let's make it a quick answer. Biggest matchup going into week 3. Let's make it quick. Chris?
Jay Ajayi versus the Jets. It's the Jets, and it's Ajayi.
Good pick.
Dez and Ezekiel Elliott versus Arizona.
Love it.
Oakland and Washington. Oakland's on fire right now.
Oh, yeah. Crabtree's looking good.
Absolutely.
I want more Marshawn dancing.
Oh, man. Me too.
I can't get enough of that.
All right, guys. Well, that's all the time we have for fantasy football. But don't worry. Ellie will be joining me to discuss what rules we'd like to change in the NHL. You don't want to miss this.
The NHL preseason has begun, and during the players' annual media tour, ESPN asked them what rule they would change to make the game better. The players gave a wide variety of answers. But Thomas, which rule do you think the NHL should change?
Let me tell you, I'm an attacking offensive guy. I love seeing goals being scored, so I want more goals to be scored in the NHL, excuse me. But to do that, let's do a little equipment change. Let's give goalies smaller pads. They don't need that much padding. I mean, these guys are tough, and they're humongous. They already take up enough space. Or let's make the goals a little bit bigger, give a chance for forwards to score more.
So you think that's a total, Thomas, I don't know if I agree with you on that. That's a total change of the game. You're gonna change a field goal and for the NFL. Like, are you gonna change a soccer? You're a soccer dude. You're gonna change a soccer
but
goal?
But the goalie doesn't take up what 90% of the net. He takes up maybe like 10% of the net. But what do you think? What's your rule change?
I'm going with the Olympics. This whole Olympic strike. Like, let's get over this. Winter Olympics are coming up in January. Wouldn't it be awesome to see hockey?
We want to watch it.
And I agree.
And they want to play.
Exactly, exactly. And so, like, let's go. Let's see something new. I mean, this is not exactly a rule change. I'm all about change, but I just can't. The whole changing, The pads, okay, that's one thing.
But
a
the
little
goal,
bit,
you don't like
but
the
I don't
goal.
like the goal. I
Maybe
don't
we
like
disagree.
Yeah,
We'll talk later.
well, maybe we'll see. I
Yeah.
don't think it's going to happen, but I think the Olympics, if there is going to be a rule change, it'll come first.
That's definitely the one first. I agree.
Sounds good.
That's all the time we have for this episode of One-on-One Sports.
Huge thanks to all the producers, crew, and talent here at the show, and you, the viewer, for tuning in.
If you missed anything, please make sure to check us out on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram at One-on-One Sports. For all of us here at One-on-One Sports, thanks for watching, and as always,
Whose side are you on?